Welcome to the ThunderCast, your Marshall Athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hudnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. The ThunderCast, of course, are your Marshall representatives for the collegehuddle.com, the largest fan-driven podcasting network in the country, man. So really cool thing to be a part of the College Huddle. I recommend that everybody go at least to the website, check it out, see what it's all about. If you've got some other teams that you're also fans of, make it really easy to follow some of their podcasts too. So we're thankful that they asked us to join, and we're damn glad to be a part of the collegehuddle.com. Russ, big game on tap this weekend. I don't know that a lot of folks maybe are viewing it as big of a game as we are, but when you're sitting at 1-2 and you haven't been home in about a month, it's a big game, right? It's a big game. So Western Michigan is coming to town. We haven't played them in a long freaking time. So it's a big game. I want to get into everything. I want to talk about the do's and don'ts and the who's and won'ts and all that good stuff. But let me get a quick word from our sponsors at 304carwreck.com.
If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
All right. It's the Broncos. They're coming to town, Huntington, West Virginia, September 28th, 3:30 p.m. kickoff. The game's going to be on ESPN+. But, dude, if you are within, 5-hour radius, 6-hour radius, you should be at the game because it's more than just the game. It's also Hall of Fame weekend. Mm-hmm. They're celebrating the anniversary of the 2014 Team Conference USA's championship. So there's probably going to be some greats in town. Obviously, there's going to be some greats in town because it's Hall of Fame weekend. But outside of those being inducted, one of the greatest teams to ever be assembled at Marshall University, who knows how many of those guys are going to be there. They still are the benchmark for all kind of modern-ish teams that they're judged by. So what do you say we get into this ComAssist KY.com Marshall football game preview against the Western Michigan Broncos?
I have a good little note that I picked up on I had seen this before and I'd just forgotten about it, but on the game notes for this game, they had this on here and reminded me of it. Mm-hmm. Trevor Mendelssohn was on that 2014 team on the offensive line, and now he is part of the coaching staff. He's co-offensive coordinator. I had forgotten that little tidbit.
Yeah, that was absolutely on my notes to say he's co-offensive coordinator, offensive line coach. Yeah, Trevor Mendelssohn was a redshirt senior on that 2014 team, so it's got to be kind of special for him, and just kind of how freaking lucky that was to draw the herd on this particular game of all the games that in all the years that you could have drawn. To be seen if he'll be on the field. But, I know he'll be on the field during the game, but like pregame festivities, who knows? But that would be cool if he did nonetheless. I doubt he would garner any boos, even if he's wearing a Western Michigan polo, how Herd family does it once, always type deal.
If he makes it over to our tailgate, man, I'm just going to have to, I'm going to have to do something,
Hey, what the hell, man? So look, Western Michigan also 1-2 on the season, much like the Herd, needing a win. They've played a pretty tough schedule. Well, you mentioned a couple of days ago in the, Ohio State recap that they are a common opponent. Both of us have played Ohio State. They did not fare nearly as well. They got beat down 56-0, whereas the Herd didn't do much better, but put a couple scores on the board, 49-14, of course. They played a pretty good Wisconsin team, and they played them pretty good, 28-14 in a loss. Their only win, just like the Herd, is against a FCS opponent. They laid one on Bethune-Cookman pretty bad, and Marshall laid one on Stony Brook pretty bad. So who the hell are we? We neither one of us knows who we are, I guess, and we're going to find out on Saturday in Huntington. So this is the 25th all-time meeting against Western Michigan in the herd. 22-12, Western Michigan owns the all-time edge, but the herd has won the last 3, dating back to 2000 through 2004, and they've won 5 of the last 6. Now, I mentioned this a little bit ago. We haven't played in 20 years. That 2004 game was the last game that we have played. Now, of course, those 6 games encompass that magical 1999 MAC championship game that I just can't get enough of watching the highlights of. And I said this before when this game was on the horizon. If Marshall doesn't have that freaking stuff playing on a loop on the video board, we've got no balls. Like, flat out, just freaking do it, man. Like, people want to hear the call when Chad Pennington goes on the long scramble. He's
39
40,
yards.
he's 30, and he's hit out of bounds, and the late. They want to hear all that. They want to hear the game calls. They would show it, man. It's such an awesome game. God, show it. If that one's in the vault, which it is, pull it out and start playing the damn thing. ESPN Power Index for us loves the herd. 77% chance to win in a home game. Herd -6 with an over-under of 54.5. So I'm not sure that I would have seen it this low. I thought Marshall might be a little bit more, maybe 10, maybe a 10-point favorite, but not the case. I've already mentioned the 56-0 win loss at the hands of Ohio State. I mentioned that the herd is back at home for the first time in a month, which obviously feels great. But this is a big Saturday on tap of a lot of things we've mentioned in our Ohio State recap episode. You want to run back through all the things that are going on Saturday before I get your synopsis of this?
Yeah, let's do it real quick. Saturday at 11, you got Swim and Dive having their green and white meet. Saturday at noon, the gates will be open. You can go over there and tailgate. It's being encouraged. Go over and watch a scrimmage that they're going to be doing. They'll also be doing that next Saturday before homecoming. Just talk about that. Then you've got obviously tailgating and the Marshall football game that we're talking about right now. On Sunday at 1 o'clock, we've got softball over at the Dot against West Virginia Wesleyan. At the same time, women's soccer will be the first part of a soccer doubleheader up there. In between, after the women's game, you've got Herdtoberfest, where they're going to have fan events on the field and at the stadium. And then 4:30, the men's soccer match will go on to cap off what is going to be an amazing weekend.
Yeah, a great weekend. Yeah, so if you're going to be in or around Huntington Saturday and Sunday, really it starts on Friday night. If you're coming in and you're going to the Hall of Fame induction dinner, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But Saturday, just being able to catch a little swim and dive. If you feel like, if you've never been, hey, walk over in there, spend 15, 20 minutes in the camp, check it out. Go back to tailgate and head over to the Jack, tailgate a little bit more, go back to tailgating, right? It's a pretty cool little Saturday. But so talk to me about this one. I'm going to give you my 3 big questions here in a minute, but what are you feeling? What are you feeling about Western Michigan?
Well, so overall, you start looking here, scoring offense is 24.3 for us, 24.3 for them. Total offense for us is 363.7 for us, 345.7 for them. Total defense, 386, 442. Rushing offense, 177 to 173. Rushing defense, 194 to 202. Passing offense, 186 to 172. Passing defense, 192 to 239. Turnover margin, we're positive. They're a little negative. It looks like it's going to be real close. Scoring defense for them, 38.3. Mm-hmm. So that's the one thing that stands out. However, I view this not being close. And the spread has gone. It opened up at either 5.5 or 6, depending on what you look. It's currently, as I check it right now, 3.5. I've seen it as low as 3. So there are a lot more people betting on Western Michigan right now with the points than there are people betting Marshall giving the points. I see it differently. And I'm going to tell you a little bit why after you tell me the 3 questions.
So I've got a question about that.
All right.
Just for my knowledge and
Uh-huh.
everybody listening, who are you looking at to get your line?
FanDuel is where I'm on right now.
Okay, so FanDuel has got it at, what'd you say, -3.5?
-3.5 right now.
So right now, same
Right
time
now.
on
Yes.
ESPN Bet, which is where I got my odds, -6. So you can get some more favorable odds if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not a gambler or anything, but if you can get some more favorable odds potentially, if you shop around, who would have thought? All right, so 3 big questions. First of all, I got to say, I don't think this one's going to be particularly close either, even though they, the Virginia Tech and the Wisconsin games kind of cancel each other out. Obviously, the Ohio State games cancel each other out. You really can't tell anything from playing Bethune-Cookman or Stony Brook, but still, it feels like.
I think I can, and I'll tell you why here in a little bit, but hit me with your 3 questions.
So the 3 big questions, and this week it's all 3 phases, really. Number 1, big questions. Will the Herd offense finally catch a 4-quarter groove, not a 4th quarter, a 4-quarter groove against an FBS opponent? Biggest question of all. We haven't seen it yet. Will this be the week it finally happens?
Hard for me to say because it is so tough to have 4 full quarters of the way I look at it as scoring in all 4 quarters. I know you don't have to. You can play a heck of a defensive thing, still move the ball, still not score, and still win that quarter. I say yes, we definitively put up 4 good quarters. I can't definitively say we'll score in all 4 quarters and dominate all 4 quarters, but I think that we see 4 good quarters of play from Marshall.
That's kind of what I mean. I didn't mean necessarily by quarter. I meant, are we going to see that drought of 4 straight 3-and-outs or 5 straight, 3-and-outs and a 5-and-out or something like that? What I meant was, are we going to be able to consistently move the ball? Yeah, you'll have a 3-and-out here and there. Will they be back to back to back, or will there be one? It's kind of spread out. That's the big question to me. Number 2, can this defense have a bounce back game again after playing against an unbelievably superior offense?
Yes, I think so. And as we talk about a lot of this stuff, I think it'll become apparent why I feel that we can. But yes, I think we are primed to show what our defense can do. I think that it will look a lot more like what we did against Virginia Tech for the first half or the first 3 quarters or whatever. I think that we are really going to put on a display to put people on notice and say, this is what our defense is capable of.
Okay, finally, will the special teams continue to create scoring opportunities? We've seen it almost every game so far. Either a big kick return, a decent punt return, a turnover created on punt coverage,
block.
or a punt block, right? Just any type of thing. Will the special teams continue to create scoring opportunities for the Herd offense?
Yes, and I think that you may even see a score from the special teams. A return either by Metcalf, who is due to take one, and maybe Foster or somebody else on a kick return. But I think that you are going to see some very good special teams play in this game.
It's weird, right? Because you expect those to be more of a, I don't want to call them fluky plays, but you just don't see them with as much regularity as you do.
It's
like the big time pass play or something like that. But we're seeing them consistently this year.
And I think that's why I'm prepared for us to see that, because it seems like we have put such an added emphasis on it. Remember, I said we had 9 punt returns last year. 9.
Yeah.
The entire year. 9 where we actually fielded the ball and tried to run. 9 for 12 yards. 2.1 yards or whatever it was. What couldn't even been that? Probably 1.2 is what I'm thinking. It was horrid. And we are seeing a marked effort to improve that game. Punting, even though we've had a couple of things here and there, we're still over 40 some yards. We've had the punt block. We've had, a punt recovery that got taken away from us at Ohio State. We have seen just everything about special teams to be, hey, here's what we're all about this year. Now, part of that too has to come with field goal kicking, and that I'll get into it a little bit later, but I think that we'll have a good game with that as well.
Okay. Well, then let's move into some of these players, and we'll learn a little bit about Western Michigan. A name that many Herd fans and some of our conference mates are going to be familiar with: quarterback Hayden Wolf, Old Dominion transfer, a guy that we have heard. We've said his name before. 6'5", 235. He's a senior, 35 of 52 on the year, 517 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions with a long of 55 on the year. Number 3 running back Jordan Nixon. He's an Oklahoma State transfer, 5'10", 185-pound junior, 31 carries on the year, 214 yards. Good for 6.9 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Has added 4 receptions out of the backfield for another 43 yards. Just something to be aware of. They've got a good little duo of running backs, really. So we've got to mention number 10 running back Zahir Abdus Salam, 5'9", 195. He's a senior. 27 catches for 134 yards. Good for roughly 5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns on the ground. He also adds 4 catches out of the backfield, but just for 16 yards. A couple of receivers going to talk about: 1 wide receiver, 1 tight end. Number 5 wide receiver Anthony Sambucci, 6'1", 190. He's a senior. 9 receptions, 156 yards, leads the team both categories. 17.3 yards per reception. Just 1 touchdown through the air, but it went for 55 yards, so or 54 yards. Number 15 tight end Chris Tootle, 6'4", 250. He's also a senior. I am catching a big theme here. Lots of seniors on this team. 4 receptions for 56 yards. He's not the leading receiver from the tight end position, but he is the one that has landed in the end zone. So we're going to highlight him. 14 yards per reception, by the way, with 1 touchdown. Russ, notes on this Western Michigan offense before I say what I've got?
Yeah. Leading receiving, you've got a wide receiver with 9. And then after that, you've got 4 players tied for second with 4 receptions through 3 games.
Right.
And it's a tight end, a running back, and a running back. So this was another reason why I don't really see it being all that close. You've got 1 wide receiver that has been a target so far, and then everything else is, running backs out of the backfield or tight ends, and I think that we can contain that.
Yeah. The notes for me speak to that, and really just pick the ball up and run with it, so to speak, in a bad pun, because Western Michigan is a rushing scoring offense. 7 rushing touchdowns on the year, only 3 passing touchdowns. 3 players have 2 rushing touchdowns apiece, and then, of course, 1 more adds the 7th. And Hayden Wolf is not a running threat. He's been sacked 5 times for minus 31 yards, and he's got another 5 rushes on the year for just 8 yards. This is not a guy that's going to be a dual threat dude. So all reasons that this defense is kind of, they're kind of playing into the strengths of this Herd defense. You don't have a terribly mobile quarterback, and you've got guys that can rush the quarterback. You've got guys that can't stretch the field or aren't stretching the field. I'm not going to say they can't, but this offense isn't stretching the field. And we've got guys that are pretty sure tacklers in short yardage situations. So I've got some notes on what I think in my keys to victory that I'll talk about that.
Yeah.
But this Western Michigan team doesn't seem like they're going to go toe-to-toe with you if you get into a shootout.
And they have at least 11 chunk plays on the year. So that is a problem. They may have more than that, but there are 11 different players here that have 20 plus as their long, either rush or reception. So that can be a problem. But you have to look at where they got those. A lot of those came during that Bethune-Cookman game. But I'm just not seeing anything that we cannot handle here on the ground through the air. I just don't see it. One of the things that I've got a note here during that Wisconsin game, their 2 touchdowns were 2 1-yard runs. The first touchdown, they had 1st and goal at the 1. It took all 4 tries for them to get it in to get that 1 touchdown for their first one. The second touchdown that they got, they started on Wisconsin's 34. So they had 34 yards was all it was to go. But this just does not scream high-powered offense. And 59 of their 73 points were scored against Bethune-Cookman. And Bethune-Cookman, well, I'll save that for the defense when we get to talking about that in this ComAssist KY breakdown that we're doing here. I'm going to save that little tidbit.
Yeah, so, really quickly, and if there's a Western Michigan podcast that's previewing the Herd, I bet you they're saying a lot of the similar things that we're saying. I looked into they had a 1-yard touchdown against Ohio State. They had a 5-yard touchdown against Virginia Tech off of a blocked punt. Yeah, true, right? All true, not denying that. It just feels like, and I haven't watched Western Michigan, but boy, I just feel like this Herd offense is more explosive than what their offense is.
It is.
Because it just doesn't, their statistics are not backing up explosion, especially when you talk about the passing game, the receiving game, really, when it's one receiver, a couple of tight ends and a couple of backs, meanwhile, Marshall's been doing a great job of spreading the ball around to a lot of different receivers, which forces a defense who we're going to talk about to have to pay respect to a lot of guys, respectfully defend a lot of guys. So let's talk about this Western Michigan defense in this ComAssist KY Marshall football preview. Again, ComAssistKY.com. We coach, you grow. Number 15 linebacker Donald Willis, 6'2", 220-pound senior, 27 tackles, leads the team. 15 of those solo, 3 passes defended. Number 3 safety Tate Hallock, 6'4", 210. He's a senior also. 20 tackles, 13 of those solo, and 1 pass defended. And then number 1, a cornerback, Belial Cone, or Cone, I don't know. 6'2", 190-pound senior. So again, senior for this Western Michigan defense. 17 tackles, 10 solo, 4 passes defended. So decent job at gathering some tackles. Decent job at getting some passes defended. Not seeing any impact plays from those top 3 tacklers. Speaking of impact plays, as a team, 7 sacks for this Western Michigan defense, no interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery. They do have a duo of defensive linemen, Isaiah Green and Corey Walker, who have accounted for 4 of their 7 sacks. Each of them have 2 apiece. So something to keep an eye on. But from a tackle standpoint, I think both of them only have 6 each on the season or something like that. So it's almost like sack or bust. You know what I mean? What do you got?
So this is what I was going to save. They gave up 31 points in their game against Bethune-Cookman.
True.
Bethune-Cookman also scored 31 points against Mercer. So you're talking about they were able to score 31 points against an FBS team, the same amount that they scored against Mercer. It just does not seem like they have a good defense either. They're giving up 38.3 a game. You take out what they gave to the 56 that they gave up to Ohio State, they still gave up a lot of points, 28 and 31 to Wisconsin, which you expect, but Bethune-Cookman, they put up 59 points, but they gave up 31. It just does not seem again that they are going to be able to contain our offense with their defense.
Yeah,
no interceptions. It's just.
Listen, the sacks category is pretty respectable, 7, but you're also talking about going up against an offensive line now that allowed 1 to the number 3 team in the country. Yeah. So I'm not saying you can wipe that out, but I'm saying it's not going to be an easy path to our quarterbacks, because it wasn't an easy path to our quarterbacks for the Buckeyes. So it doesn't translate. You can't rubber stamp it as it's going to happen, but it doesn't feel like it's going to be very easy for them. No interceptions on the year is not going to help your cause against a team that can pass the football in the Marshall Thundering Herd, that do have guys that will go up and fight you for a football and come down with the football, i.e. Christian Fitzpatrick. So I'm with you, man. I'm not saying this is a blowout. It is not. I don't feel like this is a blowout at all. I'm not saying that, but it just doesn't feel like the matchups favor the Broncos. And if the Herd is able to make some plays, this shouldn't be a tight game. Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and 4 of those sacks were against Bethune-Cookman.
Well, again, not helping your cause. Let's talk about a couple of, the kicker and the punter. Lucas Zirak, 1 of 2 on field goals with a long of 20. 8 of 8. 8 of 8 on extra points. And Ryan Milmore, the punter, averages 42.8 yards per punt. Pretty respectable on 15 punts. 7 of those have been fair catches. He's had 5 inside the 20 and 2 have gone 50 plus. So not bad, but you say we're due. We're due. How about some keys to victory in this ComAssist KY.com Marshall football preview?
Yeah, so unleash the offense is number 1. I've got 3. Unleash the offense. And I mean that in a couple of different ways. One, I mean with the plays that we're going to run. We couldn't run the offense that we want to run against Ohio State. You just can't do it. You have to throw it a little bit quicker. You're not going to see exactly what we're going to be doing in conference play. You wouldn't see that in game 1 against the FCS opponent. So we didn't get to run the offense we wanted due to all the circumstances that happened down at Virginia Tech, the way they were blanketing us on, and all the 3 and outs that we had. We just didn't get to run our offense. So this will be the first time that we actually get to unleash and unveil the offense. But I'm also saying unleash it as in let her rip. Yeah. Throw the damn ball. Actually show this air raid, that we feel like we'll see now that we're gone past the couple of games that we've had here. Stone Earl builds on what he did in that Ohio State game. Just actually let her rip, put some points up, full gas, just let it go. And that's my number 1 key to victory.
I love that, and I agree with that. The only thing that's been creeping in the back of my head is, let's say Marshall comes out, does that, sees success early, you jump out, 28-3, 28-7. Well, that goes away. You're done because you're not putting anything else on film for App State to see, because you really want that game too. That's an SBC, historic rival for a lot of fans. Not so much for us, but for those SoCon fans, it is. They want that one, and it's homecoming. So if you jump out to a big early lead, I think you just see that tale of 2 halves type of herd where they look really aggressive, and it's like, all right, let's shorten the game, especially if Western Michigan can't do anything. Let's just try to get out of here. But I love that. That's exactly what I want to see too. From the opening whistle, as soon as you run out of the tunnel, I want to see the ball flying. I want to see the dudes. I want to see our athletes out athleting, right? That's what I want to see. My number 1 key to victory kind of speaks to that. It's pick on those Western Michigan defensive backs. They've got no interceptions this year. They've got 12 passes defended, and that's pretty good. Remember, Virginia Tech got that in a game. That was a phenomenal game, yes, but we dealt with that on a game situation. So I say you've got to pick on those defensive backs and force them to make plays against what I feel are a superior crop of Marshall receivers. So while they're top tacklers, 2 of them are in the secondary. It's not so much. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that Bilal Cone is their number 1 corner. So it's not so much about him as in who's your DB2, who's your DB3, because our wide receiver 2 and 3 could probably start for your team. Yeah. Right? No offense. I mean that by no offense. I'm just calling it what it is, because our guys, our number 2 and number 3 and 4 receivers, they have meaningful stats. Yeah. They're stoned.
How often are we going to be in a 4 wide or occasionally 5 wide sets and everything? Are their top 5 going to be able to take our 5 wide receivers? And most of the time, we're going to win that matchup somewhere. Maybe in a couple of spots.
Which I'm going to kind of add to a little bit. I've got a little arrow drawn here, but you need to involve these tight ends. We haven't seen it. And now's a great time to do that. You don't want to put a whole lot on film, but damn, we got nothing on film. like a couple receptions for no net yards or 1 net yard. I mean, come on, man. This is the time. If I bet you good money that even if the Western Michigan DBs could go toe-to-toe with all of our wide receivers, I bet you that all of their linebackers aren't going to be able to go toe-to-toe with, the duo of Toby Payne and Cade Conley, right? There's just too many hurt offensive weapons out there. I think there are mismatches to be had on every offensive play. Can you identify it? Can you exploit it is the big question. What's your number 2 key to victory?
Number 2 is to prevent those chunk plays that we talked about on rushing the ball and with the receptions. Again, I think that we can, but you're talking about an offense that would probably be anemic at this point, because if you're preventing the chunk plays and their field goal range, they had one for 20 and they missed one from 48 and they missed one from 42. That's their 3 attempts on the year. But 20, let's recap. Yeah. That's from the 3. You got down to the 3 and you felt so strongly that you couldn't get it in that you're taking 3 points, and you got that one, but you have not had another attempt whatsoever. I don't know how close they got to the red zone against Ohio State, but they didn't score, so I really think if you prevent those chunk plays, you're going to win the field position battle, and you're going to be able to dominate, force a lot of punts, give us an opportunity to move into their territory for starting drives.
Well, as you were saying that, I'll just go ahead and tell you, I was looking it up. They did miss a field goal against Ohio State.
They missed it.
And it was a 42-yard attempt.
Yeah. No, I saw that was one of the games that they missed, but I don't know if, that would put them at the 25. I don't know if they got there another time and they didn't try a field goal. I just didn't go through the play-by-play that much to see how often that they said, well, let's punt it instead of trying a field goal, or, let's just run it and see what we can do.
Well, okay. In all fairness, I'm just going to do this really, really, really fast. So it was all punts after that missed field goal. 9-yard drive, 12-yard drive, 7-yard drive. They had a 6-yard drive, 20-yard drive, 1 minus 17, 3 and out. They're all 3 and outs. So they didn't do much of anything else against Ohio State. And that's unfair because, Ohio State is who they are, but they were not in position. My number 2 key to victory is I think Marshall needs to get a little aggressive with our safeties, because these guys are a little bit more of a run-ish type offense. That's where they do their damage, especially other scoring. So why not bring those safeties up a little closer to the line of scrimmage? Why not? Because I have confidence that Josh Moten can go one-on-one with anybody. I got confidence that Jacoby Henderson can go one-on-one, and Green McKnight if he's in the game, and Amir Foster, and you name it, right? So I say let's get a little aggressive with those guys. Let's make them get into that pass game and see if they can do damage. I'm not confident that they would be able to make enough plays in order to even attempt to go shootout mode with the herd.
My number 3 is to have a great kicking day. That's punting and kicking. If you can pin these guys back inside the 20, have a couple of those maybe inside the 10, inside the 5 and things when we do have to punt, and we make our field goals when we need to, I think we run away with this one. Again, you're going to win that field position battle. And then if we're putting up points and it seems like, I don't know, maybe this guy's an amazing kicker and he just missed a 42 and a 48, but right now on paper, the most he's made is a 20-yarder. And I like our chances if we can combine the field position battle and making them have to choose to go for a long field goal or punt it to us. I think that we end up running away with this game.
Okay. I like that too. Number 3 for me is more defense. You got to win first down. Those herd defensive linemen and linebackers have to force Western Michigan into late down passing situations by winning first down, man. Keep them behind the sticks, keep them battling uphill, force them to do what they're not that great at, which plays into obviously my number 2 and the safeties and all that kind of stuff. But I think that's big. I think winning first down in this game, it establishes a air of dominance, and I just feel like the herd is going to thrive a little bit, walk a little bit taller. If they can constantly go out there and keep Western Michigan in a 2nd and 9 or a 2nd and 8, I feel like that's a big confidence booster for this team, knowing that they don't have to blitz, they don't have to do things, that we have flexibility to run out of our base defense. Then we can get creative when we want to, not because we have to, not because we're trying to, keep up with what those Broncos are doing. And since you don't have a fourth key to victory, I'm just going to go ahead and give you my fourth. If we have to, I think we can even beat them at their own game. I mentioned that they are, we've got 7 passing touchdowns to 3 rushing touchdowns. They have 7 rushing to 3 passing. I think we can beat them at their own game with A.J. Turner and Ethan Payne and Jordan Houston and even Stone Earl if we have to. If we have to move the ball in a different way and this turns into a run fest, I think our stable of runners is even more effective than their stable of runners, honestly. So I don't know if you got a take on that, but you can. If you don't, that's all right.
No, I don't. I don't really have anything to add to what you say. I mean, I think that we're not near as close against this team as what Vegas is seeing and everything. And I think that we still have a lot of people underrating us.
I feel like, because you're still a 1-2 team that's only beaten an FCS team.
Yeah.
And you still got throttled at the hands of Ohio State, who is throttling everybody.
Yeah.
And Virginia Tech, who not a lot of people are high on now.
Right.
Also, what you would say convincingly beat you. We wouldn't say that because we watched the game. We saw what happened.
Yeah.
I get it. Yes, I think the herd is undervalued as well.
Yeah.
All right. How about an MVP?
MVP, I'm going with Elijah Metcalf. I think that he has had a very good season so far for us. Every announcer, when you go back and watch these games, has commented on how he is just a threat to take it to the house. He's a great player. I mean, everything that you can say about him, the announcers have been saying it as well. And he seems like he is due to have just one of these great games, a couple of touchdowns, some really good punt returns. We saw him do it in the first game. He had a very good game at Ohio State. I picked him as the MVP afterwards of the offense. So I'm going with Elijah Metcalf.
Okay. I can dig that, man. For this week, offensively, for me, it is Stone Earl, man. It is his time to put to bed any type of conversation surrounding a quarterback, any type of controversy or all that stuff amongst the fan base. It's never been a conversation amongst coaches, players, anything like that. But the fan base has been divided on who they want to see at quarterback. Yep. I think Stone Earl's the guy this week, and he puts to bed all those questions of who should be quarterback 1 and why he has been quarterback 1 since week 1. And defensively, for me, it's Mike Green. I'm not going away from the hot hand. The guy has just been shot out of a cannon since the season started, and he hasn't stopped. Ohio State couldn't contain him for a full 4 quarters either. I got no reason to believe that anybody on that offensive line for Western Michigan, no disrespect intended to Herd alum Trevor Mendelson included, can stop Mike Green. I think he's going to have a big day because he's had a big day, or at least an impactful day, every game this young season. What do you got for a score prediction?
Here's where I think that I'm nowhere near where Vegas is. Like I said, FanDuel right now is 3.5. I got us 38-7. I don't see them having an offense that can consistently get up and down the field to score against us. I see us having a statement game, as much as you can have a statement game in a non-conference against, a middle of the road MAC team. I think we do have enough of a statement to say, hey, we're better than what you guys are saying we are. And I see us scoring at least 5 times, and I see us keeping them out of the end zone all but 1.
Wow. Okay. Big time win for the herd.
Yeah.
You're talking 31-point victory. I've got it a tad bit closer, not a whole lot, but some 30-13 herd, because I feel like I'm going to see what I think I'm going to see in the second half. shorten the game and get out of there. I think the Herd jumps out early, puts some points on the board consistently throughout the first half. Western Michigan keeps pace, field goal here, field goal there. They add on a touchdown in the second half, but Marshall's already cruising to victory and already thinking about App State and homecoming in that SBC opener. Give me 30-13 Herd. The Herd holds serve at home, which I said, remember, I think they're going to run the table at home this year. And this is just the next step in doing that. So what do you think, man? You got any final words for Western Michigan, Marshall? We didn't even talk about the freaking tailgate, man.
That was my final words. Before I get into that, I do want to say, anyone listening, this is now the 4th preview that we've done, and ComAssistKY.com is where you need to go. Thank them for this sponsorship that they've done of these previews, bringing them to you. When you call, you're not going to get like, hey, am I going to get 19 different people? You're going to be calling one person, Larry Neitardi, huge Herd fan. He's in the greater Cincinnati area, but also focusing his time down here in the tri-state and Huntington. Let him take you, your team, whatever it is, and coach you and help you not only meet your goals, but exceed them.
That's right, man.
All right, so let's talk about this tailgate real quick.
Let's do it.
All right, because of circumstances of I've got 2 kids in youth soccer and the last game ends at 11:30. I won't get home until around noon, and then I have to get my stuff and get over there. I didn't want us to start the tailgate that late, so amazing friends of the ThunderCast are going to have everything set up for you over there. Probably around noon is when we're going to have the food there and everything. I'll be there a little bit later, and I'll show up with all the beverages and stuff like that, but we're going to have people over there. You'll be there before then, I'm assuming.
I'm going to try to.
Yeah. But we're going to tailgate, and this is all possible, every single tailgate that we do this year, by Landscaping by Hillcrest. They have sponsored every game, and they said, I want to make sure that you guys do it big. They didn't want to put their name on something and have us go get some McDonald's cheeseburgers and throw it out on a tray, and I'm not wired that way for tailgating anyway. So because of the time constraints, I said, you know what? We outsourced the mac and cheese back in April to Soul Food Twist in Huntington. I thought, let's just let her run with the whole thing this time. So people are going to go pick that up. We're having 4 full trays of smoked chicken legs, 4 full trays of fried chicken tenders, 3 full trays of macaroni and cheese that they had at the spring game that everyone loved, and three full trays of baked beans. So we're going to have an amazing amount of food over there.
Mm-hmm.
And then Karen LeGrand, fan of the ThunderCast that she is, wouldn't just take no for an answer. She's bringing desserts and things like that as well. She'll have her stuff set up. We're going to have an amazing spread over there.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that, man. I'm excited to have some of this food. This is the first time I think I've been to a game in a couple of years where it wasn't a Kentucky Mash Boys, tailgate spread. So you're right, dude. That's the mac and cheese from the spring game was awesome. So I'm looking forward to tasting a little bit more of the menu from Soul Food Twist. I've got to say this. First of all, yes, thank you to ComAssistKY.com for bringing you and sponsoring the Marshall football previews this entire season. Huge thank you to Landscaping by Hillcrest for wanting to sponsor every tailgate of the ThunderCast this 2024 football season and doing it right, I must add. Mm-hmm. But I've got to reiterate this. Our tailgates are free, and we love it to be that way, but we also want everybody to know this is not just for Herd fans. It's for any Western Michigan fans that might stumble onto the podcast this week. Mm-hmm. Because we're talking about your team. You might be pissed at me for the first 40 minutes of this show, but just know you are welcomed, and it's a friendly environment. You will not be berated or abused or anything. So any Western Michigan fans that are looking for a place to tailgate right outside the stadium, might I add, the ThunderCast tailgate in the C lot, right behind the giant video board, right across the street from McDonald's. We're on the back corner. You cannot miss us. you are welcome there. Your family is welcome there. This is a family-friendly tailgate. Any Western Michigan staffers that are around there, didn't catch breakfast in time, a little hungry, walk on over. We'll feed you. We'd love to have you. You know, welcome to Huntington. We're hoping you walk out with a loss. Don't get me wrong, but we want you to experience that legendary herd hospitality that we have before and after every game. For the 3 hours in between, maybe not so much, but before and after, we want to make sure you have a good time. I just wanted to toss that out there. Any of those 2014 football team guys that are going to be back for the celebration of your team, you are also welcome. It's a nice, quiet place to just chill, man. People just come there and hang out. You're not going to be bombarded, right? You can come and have a good time. Anybody that's listening to this, you're welcome at the ThunderCast tailgates. Russ, I'm looking forward to it. I did not know if I was going to be able to make it to this. I didn't think I was going to make it to another game this year. And some things happened, and I'm going to be able to make it to this game. I'm coming down alone. My wife is going to stay behind and kick it with Coop here at the house. So I may or may not have somebody with me though when I come. I don't know. That'll be yet to be seen. But maybe. Unfortunately, I am going to have to drive right back home after the game because I'll have to go back to work, first thing in the morning, potentially on Sunday. So I'm looking forward to it. Seeing Jed, seeing all the folks, seeing Garrett and Emily and everybody. I'm ready. I'm ready to have a good time. So if you got nothing else, take us out here.
Yeah, whether you see us at the Jack, whether you see us at the Cam, or whether you see us at ThunderCast Live, powered by Ignite Link on Saturday for an amazing tailgate spread. No matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd is the ThunderCast. We'll see your asses on Saturday morning in the Sea Line. Later.